Mary J. Blige and 50 Cent are two legendary names in the world of hip-hop and R&B. Both have built powerful careers, influenced generations of artists, and left a major mark on the music industry. For years, fans have seen them as two icons who moved in similar circles, respected each other from a distance, and never really had any serious public issues. There were no major feuds, no explosive interviews, and no obvious tension that would make people think there was ever a problem between them. But now, that image may not be as simple as people once believed. A recent revelation from Mary J. Blige has sparked major conversation online, and fans are now looking at her relationship with 50 Cent in a completely different way. What she shared has surprised many people because it wasn't what fans expected to hear. It was honest, it was emotional, and it gave people a rare look into what may have really happened behind the scenes between two of the biggest names in the game. For a long time, Mary J. Blige and 50 Cent were viewed as artists who kept things professional and respectful. Even if they were not constantly collaborating or publicly praising each other every week, there was still a general belief that there was mutual respect between them. They both came from the same larger music culture, they both understood struggle, success, survival, and reinvention, and they both carried themselves like veterans in the industry. That is exactly why Mary J. Blige's recent comments hit so differently. When she opened up in a candid interview, fans were not expecting her to say anything negative or even remotely critical about 50 Cent. But according to what has been circulating, Mary J. Blige spoke honestly about a time in her life and career when she felt that 50 Cent was not as supportive as she expected him to be. That statement alone was enough to get people talking, but it was the tone and timing of her words that made it even more powerful. This was not some random gossip moment. This was not a petty social media post. This was Mary J. Blige speaking from experience, sharing a personal truth, and allowing the public to see a side of her story that had apparently remained hidden for years. And that's where the shock comes in, because when people think of Mary J. Blige, they think of strength, resilience, vulnerability, and honesty. She has always been an artist who tells the truth through her music. Her songs have often reflected pain, healing, betrayal, love, and survival. So when she speaks openly in an interview, people listen closely. And when that honesty involves another major celebrity like 50 Cent, people pay even more attention. According to the discussion surrounding the interview, Mary J. Blige revealed that there was a period when she had hoped for more support from 50 Cent, especially during a critical time in her career. That one admission changed the tone of the entire conversation. It was no longer about two stars simply coexisting in the same industry. Suddenly, fans were thinking about expectations, loyalty, missed opportunities, and what really goes on behind the scenes between celebrities who appear fine in public. What makes this so interesting is that Mary J. Blige did not come across as someone trying to start drama. That's a huge part of why her words landed the way they did. She didn't sound bitter just for the sake of headlines. Instead, she sounded reflective. She sounded like someone revisiting a moment that mattered to her and being honest about how it made her feel. And that honesty is what made the revelation feel so real. In the entertainment world, especially in hip-hop and R&B, public images can be incredibly polished. Fans often only see red carpet moments, social media interactions, award show appearances, and carefully chosen collaborations. But those surface-level moments rarely tell the full story. There are conversations that happen behind closed doors, relationships that are more complicated than they seem, and disappointments that never make it into headlines until someone finally decides to speak on them. That seems to be exactly what happened here. Mary J. Blige's comments gave people the impression that her dynamic with 50 Cent may have been more layered than anyone realized. For years, there was this quiet assumption that because they never publicly clashed, everything must have been fine. But silence does not always mean harmony. Sometimes it simply means people choose not to address things publicly. Now, with Mary speaking more openly, fans are left wondering what really happened. Was there a specific incident that caused this feeling? Was it about business? Was it about loyalty? Was it about a missed opportunity to stand by someone during a vulnerable time? Those are the kinds of questions people immediately began asking once her comments started making the rounds. And as expected, social media wasted no time reacting. The moment people started sharing clips, quotes, and interpretations of what Mary J. Blige said, the internet lit up. Fans of both artists jumped into the conversation. Some people were shocked that Mary would reveal something so personal and unexpected. Others praised her for being transparent and speaking her truth. And of course, there were people who immediately started analyzing every past interaction between her and 50 Cent, trying to figure out whether there were signs of tension all along. That's what happens when two legendary names are involved. Mary J. Blige is not just any artist. She is one of the most respected voices in music history. Her legacy is built not only on hits and awards, but on authenticity. She has survived the ups and downs of fame while remaining emotionally connected to her audience. When she talks about pain or disappointment, people believe her because that vulnerability has always been part of her identity. 50 Cent, on the other hand, is known for being sharp, strategic, outspoken, and often unpredictable. He has built a reputation as someone who is not afraid to speak his mind, call people out, or move through the industry on his own terms. He is respected, feared by some, admired by many, and always a topic of conversation. That makes any story involving him instantly bigger than it might otherwise be. So when Mary J. Blige suggests that 50 Cent was not as supportive as she expected during an important phase of her career, it creates a moment that feels bigger than just one quote. It becomes symbolic. It becomes a conversation about what support actually looks like in the music industry. It becomes a reminder that even successful artists can feel disappointed by people they expected more from. It becomes proof that fame does not erase emotional complexity. And perhaps most importantly, it shows that relationships in entertainment are rarely as simple as they appear from the outside. What many fans found especially striking was how human the whole thing felt. It is easy to think of celebrities as untouchable, larger-than-life figures who are always in control. But Mary J. Blige's revelation reminds people that even stars at the top can feel let down. They can have expectations. They can be hurt. They can remember moments when someone's lack of support stayed with them long after the moment passed. That is why this revelation resonated with so many people. It wasn't just because it involved famous names. It was because the emotion behind it felt relatable. Many people know what it feels like to expect support from someone and not receive it. Many people know what it feels like to assume a relationship is stronger than it really is. And many people understand how painful it can be when someone you thought would show up for you simply doesn't. In that sense, Mary J. Blige's words were bigger than celebrity gossip. They touched on something universal. Of course, fans also started asking the obvious question: how does 50 Cent feel about all of this? As of now, that question is part of what keeps the story so alive. Because whenever 50 Cent is involved in any public discussion, people expect some kind of response, whether it's direct, subtle, humorous, or completely unexpected. He has built a career not only in music and television, but also in public persona. He knows how to control attention, and he knows how to make headlines. That means people are watching closely to see whether he will acknowledge Mary J. Blige's comments, dismiss them, joke about them, or remain silent. And silence, in a case like this, can be just as powerful as a statement. If he says nothing, some people will interpret that as maturity. Others may see it as avoidance. If he responds directly, it could either clear things up or make the situation even more complicated. That uncertainty is part of what makes the story so compelling right now. But beyond the speculation, there's another reason this conversation matters. It challenges the public narrative. For years, fans have built assumptions about celebrity relationships based on appearances. If two artists are seen together, they must be cool. If they never argue publicly, there must be no issue. If there are no diss tracks, no call-outs, and no online drama, then everything must be fine. Mary J. Blige's comments remind us that those assumptions can be misleading. A relationship can appear calm from the outside while still carrying disappointment underneath. Two people can be respectful in public while privately having unresolved feelings. And sometimes, years later, one honest conversation is enough to change the way everyone sees that relationship. That is exactly why this story has captured so much attention. It is not just about a shocking truth. It is about the way one sentence can reshape a public narrative that has existed for years. It is about how honesty can cut through years of assumptions. And it is about how even the strongest, most admired artists can carry emotional memories that never fully disappear. Mary J. Blige's revelation also speaks to the importance of timing. Sometimes people do not tell their full truth in the moment. Sometimes they wait until they have enough distance, enough clarity, or enough peace to revisit something honestly. When that happens, their words often carry more weight because they are not reacting in anger. They are reflecting from a place of understanding. That seems to be part of why her comments stood out so much. She was not trying to create chaos. She was simply sharing a truth that many people did not expect to hear. And because of that, it felt genuine. In the end, what Mary J. Blige said about 50 Cent may not be about beef in the traditional sense. It may not be about enemies, feuds, or dramatic confrontations. Instead, it may be about disappointment, unmet expectations, and the complicated reality of relationships in a world where everyone assumes they know the full story. That makes the revelation even more interesting. Because real life is often more complicated than public drama, sometimes the most powerful stories are not about shouting matches or explosive scandals. Sometimes they are about quiet truths that finally come to light. Sometimes they are about one person saying, "I expected more," and the world suddenly realizing that there was a whole emotional layer to the story that no one ever saw. That is what makes Mary J. Blige's words so unforgettable. They don't just change how people view 50 Cent, they also deepen the way people see Mary. They remind fans that even someone as strong, legendary, and admired as Mary J. Blige still carries memories of moments that mattered. They remind us that vulnerability does not disappear with success. And they show that honesty, even when it is uncomfortable, can be one of the most powerful things a person can offer. Whether fans agree with her perspective or not, one thing is clear: her comments have opened the door to a bigger conversation. A conversation about loyalty. A conversation about support. A conversation about how celebrity relationships are often far more complex than the public realizes. And maybe that is the real lesson here. Not every relationship in the entertainment world fits neatly into categories like friends, enemies, or neutral. Sometimes it is messy than that. Sometimes it is respectful but disappointing. Sometimes it is cordial but emotionally complicated. Sometimes it is professional on the surface, but personal underneath. That is the kind of nuance Mary J. Blige brought into the spotlight with this revelation. And fans are still processing it. Some people believe her honesty was refreshing. Others think the situation may be more complicated than it seems. Some are waiting to hear 50 Cent's side before forming an opinion. And others are simply fascinated by the fact that two icons who seem to have no public issues may have had a much more layered history than anyone knew. No matter where people stand, one thing is undeniable: this moment has people talking. It has reminded fans that celebrity culture is often built on incomplete information. It has shown that behind every polished public image, there can be private emotions and untold stories. And it has proven once again that when a legend like Mary J. Blige speaks candidly, the world listens. So what do you think about Mary J. Blige's revelation regarding 50 Cent? Do you believe her comments changed the way fans should view their relationship? Do you think her honesty was long overdue? Or do you feel there may be more to the story that the public still hasn't heard? One thing is for sure: this unexpected admission has completely shifted the conversation. What once looked like a simple, respectful professional distance now feels much more complicated. And that complexity is exactly what has made this story impossible to ignore. If there's one takeaway from all of this, it's that public perception is never the full story. Even in a world filled with cameras, interviews, headlines, and social media posts, there are still hidden truths. There are still moments that happen behind the scenes. And sometimes, years later, one honest statement can reveal more than 1,000 public appearances ever could. Mary J. Blige's comments about 50 Cent did exactly that. They challenged assumptions. They sparked debate. They revealed emotion. And they reminded everyone that even the biggest stars can have complicated histories that never fully make it into the spotlight until now. So now the question is no longer whether Mary J. Blige and 50 Cent were simply distant professionals. The real question is, how much of their story have we misunderstood all along? And if this revelation is any indication, the answer might be more than we ever realized. If you enjoyed this story and want more celebrity insights, behind-the-scenes revelations, and unexpected truths from the world of music and entertainment, be sure to stay tuned. There is always more beneath the surface, and sometimes the stories you think you know best are the ones hiding the biggest surprises. Let us know your thoughts below. Do you think Mary J. Blige was right to speak out? Do you think 50 Cent should respond? And do you believe this changes the way fans should see their relationship moving forward? Drop your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more exclusive celebrity stories, music industry drama, and powerful revelations you won't want to miss. Thanks for the watching and subscribe.